Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mike Financial Education. Today, we're going to talk about the levels of wealth. There are 7 main financial levels, but most people in the world don't pass level 3. They get stuck for years at levels 2 and 3 while experiencing financial difficulty and fear. The problem is that most people aren't even aware of which level they're at, so they don't know what's right to do in relation to each level. In this video, we'll try to describe what each level looks like, so you can understand roughly where you stand. Additionally, we'll try to understand what each level requires in order to move to the next level. Level 1. Financial dependence. In this stage, you need another person to finance you. What are the signs that indicate you're at this stage? First, you earn less than your expenses. Second, you understand who finances you. Usually, for most people at this stage, parents are the financiers. What do you need to do to move to the next level? First, reach a situation where you're not dependent on someone else. You can always continue to receive some help, but not be completely dependent on another person. Second, start learning about financial management. Usually, those at this stage are young people, so building knowledge about the most basic things is very important at this stage. Level 2. Financial survival. At this stage, people are in a financial situation where they feel that money controls their lives. Any unexpected expense, even if relatively small, can put them in financial trouble. What are the signs that indicate you're at this stage? First, you don't know what your expenses and income are. I'm not talking about knowing down to individual dollar, but knowing roughly what your monthly and annual expenses are. Second, you're behind on payments, meaning you must postpone expenses because you can't afford to pay them. Third, you have no emergency money, and any unexpected expense puts you in crisis. What do you need to do to move to the next level? First, start understanding what your expenses and income are. You must understand your financial reality and not ignore it. Second, start working with a budget. If you don't know your expenses and income, it means you don't have developed financial sense. So it's very worthwhile to start recording your income and expenses to get an accurate picture of your financial behavior. You can learn many things from a budget, and this knowledge will lead you to the next stage. Third, implement the knowledge you're accumulating. Usually, knowledge will lead you to one of 3 conclusions. 1. Your income is what's hurting your progress. 2. Your large expenses are what's hurting your progress. 3. Both high expenses and low income are hurting you. Level 3. Stability. If you're at this level, it means you already know your expenses and income. You manage to pay bills on time, and not every unexpected expense puts you in financial trouble. How you can know you're at this level? First, you already manage to pay for your basic needs, like housing and food, without going into negative deficit. Second, you manage to pay your debts fully and without delay, whether it's mortgage payments, loan payments, or any other debt. Third, while you do manage financially, you don't manage to invest or save enough money to advance financially. What do you need to do to move to the next level? You need to save money and invest it. This process will slowly get you from a state of stability to a state of financial growth. To do this, you need to build an automatic system that will help you to invest money regularly. Level 4. Security. At this stage, you start looking at your financial situation as a strategy for the future and not as an attempt to survive the present. You're already saving money for emergencies and have various investment channels that help you grow your capital. How you can know you're at this level? First, you know how much you spend and earn, and at the end of each month, you're in a positive balance. Second, you can survive unexpected expenses, even if they're relatively large. Third, you have no debts, or you're in complete control of your debts. It's important to emphasize here that we're not talking about good debts, but only bad ones, because good debt can contribute even to the highest levels of wealth. Fourth, your money starts generating money for you. What do you need to do to move to the next level? First, try to increase your investments as much as possible. Second, increase emergency funds. The rule of thumb says that savings that can keep you on your feet for 3 to 6 months are excellent. There's no need for an emergency fund for 20 years, because usually putting the extra money into investments will advance you much faster to the next stage. Level 5. Growth. At this stage, your money works harder than you do. This is the stage where the momentum of growth becomes so significant that you can see your money generating serious capital that affects your life. How you can know you're at this level? First, your investments are growing and consistent. Second, you can start understanding how much money you're going to generate from investments in the long term. freedom. Of course, these are only estimates and not down to the individual dollar. Third, you start thinking in terms of profit and returns in percentages, and you start thinking about long-term strategy for optimal capital growth. What do you need to do to move to the next level? First, increase investments. The quick way to do this is simply to use the money created from investments for investment purposes, so compound interest works in the best way. Second, try to understand what are the things that blocking you from reaching the next stage. Usually, it's about changing our way of thinking about money. Level 6, financial freedom. At this stage, money is no longer a nuisance, and you can meet your basic needs without any worry about money. How you can know you're at this level? First, you can stop working because the money you have is enough to meet your basic needs. Second, you plan your financial future in years and even decades. What this stage requires: first, enjoy your ability to choose what to do and when to do it. It's very likely that if you've reached this point, you probably worked for several decades to get to this point, and you need to know how to enjoy it and not just rush to the next stage. Second, adjust the numbers for the rest of your life. If, for example, you now manage to earn $8,000 from passive income and live off them in a way that completely covers your expenses, that's excellent. But the chance that $8,000 will be enough for financial freedom in 10 years, considering inflation, is not reasonable. So you need to adjust the numbers for the future too. Level 7. Financial independence. At this stage, your passive income doesn't just cover your basic expenses, but also your luxuries. How you can know you're at this level? First, you can spend money on luxuries without harming your financial situation. Second, your financial system is so stable and good that it continues to grow quickly and steadily, even without your intervention. Summary: there are 7 main financial stages, and at each stage, there are certain steps to move to the next stage. If you know what your stage is and what are the next steps you need to take, it will be much easier for you to advance financially. I very much hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll meet in the next episodes.